Welcome to Talking eBay, a podcast. Yes, we're going to have a discussion today, and we're going to talk about how do you know when your hobby is ready for a business. So when do you know? When do you know when your hobby is ready to become a business? Well, eBay is really great for that because you can turn your hobby into a business pretty quickly and pretty easily. But how do you know? Well, the first thing you have to do, there's 10 different steps I'm going to talk about in this podcast. So set a goal. Okay, that's number one. So simply deciding to turn your hobby into a business, that's not really a goal. Think about that, right? You really have to think about the process behind it, what you're doing, how long you've been doing something for, can you prove it, things like that. That's really important to do. And you feel comfortable with your hobby, do some research, look online, things like that. It's really the first thing you really need to do. But really, just because it's a hobby doesn't mean it's a business. So just think about that. A lot of people make a mistake and they jump into a business without knowing that the hobby can be supported into a business. Not just because you love something doesn't mean everybody does. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but just because you love it doesn't mean that everybody does. So you got to think about that. Really important. So what do you have to do? Do research. That's number two, right? So do the research, look online, do some look around social sites, do some Googling, use Google Trends, see, what's going on with that. You can kind of see if it's trending, what's happening with that. So do the research, look around, look on eBay, look on Mercari, look at other platforms and see if that business is viable, because a lot of times just because you think it is doesn't mean it is, or maybe the profit margins and the price points don't really match what you're looking for. So those things are super important when you're starting a business, especially with eBay. Make sure you do the research. I've done many projects in the past, and they just didn't really meet the criteria to make money with. So then you have to kind of think of a different idea and maybe pivot. But for this specific interest, we're talking about what your hobby is, right? So do the research, figure out what it is, and see if it works. Number three, identify a business model. So come up with the business model, come up with the profit, figure out your shipping, figure out your fees, because you'd be surprised, fees add up. So fees and shipping are like 40% of the cost of your cost. You got to think about that. A lot of people forget that. Shipping is expensive. Make sure you do the right sizes. Make sure you calculate everything correctly. Make sure you have everything ready to go. Don't guess it. Those are the processes. You have to have a process in place to really be successful. And that's people forget about the fees, 16, 17%. Shipping can be quite a bit, up to 10% sometimes, depending on what it is. And eBay does help you a lot with really good pricing, and they really do a great job of that with the shipping discounts. But that's really important. Identify a business model is so important. That's like huge. Test your idea. What do you do to test your idea? Well, do a few sales. Try to test it. Put it on the marketplace. See if it sells. Put it on Facebook. Put it on eBay. See if you get some responses. Make a TikTok. Do a YouTube video. Whatever it is, to get your market out there and test it. A lot of people make this mistake. They don't test their concept before they actually just go out and start a business with it. They'll go out and get a loan. They'll spend a ton of money, and then it's just a failure. So you got to be really careful with that. Definitely test your idea. See if it's, do a small run. Put it on eBay. Oh, people love this item. They love it, or they don't like it. You'll know right away. Don't sink a ton of money into something until you really know what it's going to be about. So definitely test your idea. It's really huge. A lot of people just skip that step. They go right into buying, getting loans, and doing all this stuff. So don't do that. Test it on eBay. It costs you almost pennies to try it and see what it does. Test the price points. Go high, go low. See where the customer's comfortable paying with it, because that's another thing too, because there's always a price point barrier. A lot of people forget that. Price point barrier is very important. If you made a specific, say an Afghan, and that can sell for like $75, but the customer's only willing to pay $40, and it costs you $25 or $30 to make it, there's no money to be made there. So you got to kind of think about that process when you're thinking about your business idea. So develop a business plan is super, super important. Now get your finances in order. That's another step. So once you've figured out all your ideas and you tested it and you did all that kind of research and you say, okay, this is going to work, figure out some financing, maybe some friends and family. Maybe you can get some loans, things like that. Start small. Don't go into big debt. Don't go credit card crazy. Don't do any of that. Try to do small. Ask friends and family. Go like that. Small business loan, maybe, but I would definitely do start small first and go from there. Let the business support the business. Don't go into debt. Huge mistake. Don't go into debt. You'll be surprised. You really will learn real quickly how fast you can lose money, because all that interest sucks up the rest of your profits, right? So you got to be very, very careful, go slow, and think about that, because we've had different businesses over our careers, and we'll go into that as well with that podcast in the future. We'll talk about our past businesses, what succeeded and what failed. So definitely follow along, follow all these podcasts, and you will come up with, and I'll share with you all the different things I've done in the last 30 years that were successful and that were failures, because sometimes the failures can lead to success, and that's really what that's all about. It's about the journey. It's not so much about the process. It's really about the whole thing, the journey. Learn marketing basics. That is super important. So what does that mean? Basically, learn how to market. Either do, again, Facebook ads. They're inexpensive if you do them correctly. eBay, correct keywords, correct advertising, correct marketing, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you do everything correctly to get the best marketing out of your ad. So just learn about the marketing basics. Do a TikTok video. There's tons of free options, right? You can do TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I mean, there's so many things you can do today that cost nothing to produce yourself on your phone and do marketing, right? And drive traffic and give ideas and use that for your testing. And there's so much you can do. And the last step, the next step is customers. So you got to get the customers, right? So you have to have a website if you're doing something outside eBay, but if you're going to do it on eBay, eBay takes care of you all right there on the spot. They'll help you with the shipping, the cost. They'll take care of the money part. And the whole 9 yards. You have no issues whatsoever. It becomes really easy once you get to that part. It's just really, really good. So get the customers to learn how to do that. And then you'll keep growing and slowly figuring it all out. And, look at the reviews, get some feedback, build your store slowly on eBay, build your audience, get positive representation is very important. Get some good feedback. That's really important because, as you're growing your brand, people want to trust you. They only know you by what they see in the photo. And also your product and then your feedback, right? So that's important. Set milestones. Those are really important as well. Address your strategy if you have to, but set goals. See how you're doing. Maybe do so 1 or 2 a week or 1 or 2 a month, whatever you're doing part-time. Don't overdo it. Don't pressure yourself. You will definitely succeed, but don't take unnecessary risks. Stay on track and to become a successful entrepreneur. It takes time, it takes energy, and most importantly, it takes experience. So take some time, take your time. Learn how to go down this road. Okay, entrepreneurship doesn't come overnight. The overnight success never lasts. Okay, when you want to become an entrepreneur, it needs to take a long road to be successful. Take your time and keep going. And the last thing I'm going to say to you is find a mentor. So a mentor is somebody who's running a small business, someone who's in your area. Maybe you'll work with them side by side for free, almost like an internship. And just to get out there and just, hands-on experience about handling money, balancing budgets, figuring all that stuff out. So important, right? Learning how to sell, learning how to talk to people. Maybe you're going to go to a trade show or a craft show or you're going to go to, a sourcing show, whatever it is. You need to understand how to deal with things, get business cards, treat your business like a business. That's really important too. Get business cards, talk to people, don't be afraid, and put yourself out there. Don't be afraid of that because you'll never know what you're going to find. So find a mentor. It's so important. You'll be surprised. If you find another entrepreneur, say, do you mind if I just pick your brain a little bit? People love to share, like we're sharing here on Talking eBay. I will share with you is all the knowledge that I have in the last 35 years of selling and buying and starting something new. I've had candle businesses that I flipped them and sold them online, which turned into another business, which turned into another wholesale business. So sometimes you're going down one path and it changes direction all around. So you just never know how it's going to go. So that's what it's all about. So the next few episodes in the next few months or so, we're going to really be talking about some businesses that I have, and I'm going to give you some encouragement, and also give you some ideas into what you can do. So definitely follow along. I appreciate your time. So hopefully these 10 tips did help you. Also, I do have a YouTube channel it's called Talking eBay on YouTube. So go to YouTube, check that out. And there's a lot of how-to videos on there. There's a lot of tutorials and a lot of information about growing your business on eBay. So there's a lot of stuff on there as well. So check that out. Subscribe to the channel. I got some giveaways on there. We're going to be doing some follow-ups with eBay's doing eBay Open Live. We're going to be doing some follow-ups about that. I'm sure there's going to be some price changes. There's going to be a lot of things happening in the future. So that's what it's all about. So that's it. I don't want to make this too long of a podcast. Just a quick 10 minutes just to give you some more food, some more information, and something simple to do about starting a hobby into a business. It's not rocket science. It just takes some time and thought process. So don't rush into it. take your time, and always come up with an idea and a strategy. Okay, and just you can even do a yard sale. You can even do a flea market. You can just test your product pretty much anywhere. You'd be surprised. A lot of people start out at the the farmers market, and they'll start different things, and they'll start selling food and different things. And before they know it, they had a hobby of making something at home, right? And I'm sure you've heard the story a million times, and then became a huge brand. And they were on Shark Tank, and they did this and they did that, and it's just grew out of. It just blew up because of what they did. And a lot of times they didn't follow the proper process, and they had no sales. And you see what happens on that show, right? A lot of times you'll see that people just say, oh, it's not a business, it's a hobby, right? You always hear them say that it's not a business, it's a hobby. So what you want to try to do is turn your hobby into a business. And I think these strategies will help you go down that path and learn exactly how to grow your business. All right, guys, I hope you appreciate this podcast. I really do. I appreciate you listening to this, and please share the podcast, and also subscribe and listen to future episodes. Like I said, we have a ton more coming out to teach you all about selling on eBay. I appreciate your time as always, and I'll see you at the next podcast.